Oh boy, what is up with this show, man?
What is
What
up
is
with
up?
the show?
This is one of the best stories I've ever seen. Like, and I say this after because right now we're about to cover episode 22. You've seen episode 23.
Hmm.
These episodes are just, man. I looked up a word to try to see how if I could capture what I feel about this show, and I landed on a word called ineffable. You know what that means?
Wait, this is ineffable. Oof, wait, no, if wait, stop.
Hey,
Ineffable.
don't Google it. Don't cheat.
Does that mean can be done?
Close. You want to give it one more
Okay.
shot?
No, that's it. Because I guess I was like ineffable, like fail. Like I just thought French, like fail is like to do, to make or some shit. And I was like ineffable. I don't know. Because feasible is like not feasible, but this is ineffable. I don't know. Well, N is not. That's the negation on top of it, in front of it. So not what? What is
You're
febble be?
close. You're close. It means too great to be described in words.
Mm.
So this
It's
show
like
is beyond description.
unfathomable. But okay.
Yeah. Can't be
Interesting, Christian.
described.
Interesting. It's pretty good. It's very good. That Vinland Saga
It's
is
amazing.
yeah.
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 All right. So episode 22, King of Rebellion. Bam. You're hit with a pain that spins your world round and round. Boom. The sky swaps positions with the ground. Thwack. The air it rushes out of your lungs as you're launched into the air. Bang. Your vision blurs as your equilibrium is thrown off. Crunch! A blow to your cheek creates a crack somewhere in your body. Thorfinn's getting the shit beaten out of him right now. But he
Christian,
knows a trick to getting hit. Yes. What's up here?
you know I love poetry, right? So this was such a the onomatopoeia. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't speak this language. Was done so perfectly. I've seen this already, but the sound effects you just said that followed by the action of those sound effects. Bro,
Well,
this man, yo, this man out here, bro. Like, what is going on?
that's what I like to do in scenes like this. Because when I really try to imagine what each hit feels like. And then not only what each hit feels like, but also what an accumulation of the hits feels like as well.
Yeah,
And that's a really when you approach a scene like this with that perspective, I think it gives so much more life and breath into what they're trying to convey.
right.
And I know in a lot of like comic books and manga, they always use these explosive words like bam, thwack, and
Hmm.
boom. So yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind. So I'm glad you appreciated
Dude, I was like, whoa, what is this man doing?
it. Yeah. Yeah, so Thorfinn he's getting pretty fucked up right now. But he knows a trick to getting hit. And he's deflecting with his body. So by going with the flow of the hits and by answering the rigidity of a punch with the fluidity of a parry, he distributes the pain throughout his body, which mitigates the damage overall. And it allows him to take punch after punch while leaving his opponent feeling little resistance when striking him. Thorfinn is so skilled that nobody really realizes what he's doing. It just looks like he's getting hit. But there's an art to getting hit. But it is not a perfect solution. It can increase your resistance to pain and damage, but it doesn't make you impervious to damage. So it's still incredibly dangerous for him to get hit 100 times with a full force blow. And Einar has no choice but to watch as the crowd cheers on the beating. And then, meanwhile, though, we get a glimpse inside Thorfinn's head, and we see that the pain that he's experiencing, it doesn't move him off center internally. Like in his mind, he's just thinking that violence should be his last resort. And I personally am of the belief that your ability to think under immense distress, like that personal ratio we all have of discomfort and comfort that you can tolerate. It's one of the truest marks of internal strength that there is, because your personal ratio influences your work ethic. It influences how you navigate the stress of life. It influences your emotional intelligence, your adaptability, your capability of having like healthy relationships, your ability to be happy. Like the list, it just goes on.
Right.
Um, and in Thorfinn's case, his threshold for discomfort is so high. His ceiling for pain is so tall that he's a person who can handle physical torture while staying true to his disposition and his objective. His disposition is that violence is a last resort, and his objective is to find out what the first method that precedes violence is. And Einar, he's watching Thorfinn. He reveals to us, the viewers, an answer for what this first method is. And he says it's endurance. And that endurance is what precedes violence. That is the first method. And it's not a submissive, defeated type of endurance, but a stoic and a consenting one. So that's an important difference when I think that needs to be clarified when we use the word endurance in this scenario, because it's a very powerful angle to view what it means to endure in a situation like this.
Right.
Like it's the kind of endurance that says I could kill you as the stronger one in this situation, but I'm going to let you torture me and I'm going to endure that torture to prove my point. So, uh, and at first, the crowd doesn't notice the weight behind Thorfinn's actions. They think he's all talk. Like he's just a foolish slave who claims to have served the king, the greatest king in the north at some point, and they were just mocking him for the gall of saying that. But there's three things that happen in this whole interaction with Thorfinn that slowly shifts the atmosphere. And the first thing is that when Snake and Olmar appear, they notice Thorfinn's getting beaten. Snake interferes, which, by the way, I found it kind of funny that no one was alarmed that somebody dressed like the enemy with a weapon on his hip just showed up and lethally walks through the crowd. Like, I know they underestimate the soldiers that were at the farm, and they
Hmm.
most likely didn't know that this is a man who killed a few Yom's Vikings.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I guess you can just walk through.
That is
But
true. I mean, they took these guys for nothing. They're like, but that's true. He didn't. I'm shocked he didn't get spotted because what he did was so singular. No one else in his troop was
yeah,
able to take down so many people. So it's like, how was this man not marked?
yeah, you see all the blood on him. Well, I guess everybody had a lot of blood on them, right? It was just death everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of funny that no one marked him, like you say. Uh, but yeah, so regardless, Snake's interference causes Thorfinn to lose focus for a moment, and as a result, he takes the full impact of a blow. And this emboldens the crowd because this torture session is just a game to them that they're betting on. And the outcome of Thorfinn losing was inevitable to them. So they roar in excitement when they see, okay, this is the blow that finally knocks him down. And so this is the first step in the atmosphere shift, like a rise in the crowd's confidence because they saw Thorfinn take a bad hit, which affirmed their snobby perception of the situation. That's the first step. The
Right.
second step is Snake rushes to Thorfinn's side, and then he tells them that the farm plans to surrender and that if talking could have resolved this situation, then they would have done so already.
Yeah.
And in response, Thorfinn, in short, says that they didn't really put in the effort to resolve things through conversation. They only
Right.
answered violence with violence without thinking about it. Which, by the way, I don't know if you remember, but in a previous episode, I mentioned how Kettle could have proposed running the farm for Canute instead of going to war. I immediately thought of that as like one of the many solutions uh, when Thorfinn
Um,
said they didn't talk things through, because that is a potential solution.
that's true, but Kettle was not in the right headspace. It's because we've seen a man who's very calm and collected, like a man who is heartfelt, kind, like who had a hard time punishing two kids who stole from him. Who work with his slaves, his workers. Who, like he's not, his ego is not up there, was not up there. To this man coming back home all afraid, knowing that war has just been declared on me and I did nothing wrong. Number two, Bay is out here trying to run away with some guy and she's pregnant. So there's a bunch of things that ticked Keto off his normal headspace. I'll give him that. That's a lot to take in. Just seriously, but yeah. Normal Kettle, definitely. Coward Kettle, definitely. Like, bro,
Oh,
yes, I'll run this for you.
so you think that if Kettle was like in a good headspace, he would have definitely tried to like talk things out with the king?
Bro, Christian, Kettle is weak like 7 days. Like Kettle is like Kettle's been bribing a king for years. Kettle's crying to Arnheid because he's afraid of his son. Bro, Kettle would definitely choose that way. Like normal Kettle would have chosen that way. The man was just fuming and he was on this power rant, which it's his farm. Like, bro, I own slaves. Like, how dare you fucking think you can leave me? Like, just yeah, it was saturated by a lot of emotions, which I felt bad for him. But at the time, bro, he beat this girl to death. But yeah. It's just to show you, there's things could have gone differently if the scenes that preceded these instances were different. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. But it's still, Thorfinn's words still hold true that he did give into violence. Like, yeah, he did have that crazy mental shift. But
Seriously.
yeah, things could have been different. But yeah, so after saying this, that they just answered violence with violence, Thorfinn he stands up and he spits out a tooth, and then with a commanding tone, the same voice that we heard, the same tone that Thorfinn held in season one whenever he was screaming or angry, that kind of leaked out here, and it felt I don't know if nice is a good word. It felt cool maybe to see that he could still bring that side of him out when he needs to, because he was yelling, he was shouting at Drott for stopping. He
Yeah.
gives like he gives a speech that shuts up the crowd really quick,
Mm.
and he tells Drott like, hey, listen, your hits were weak, and you got 68 more of them left, so just get this shit over with already. I'm a busy guy. And then he holds up his hair in this all cool man.
Yeah.
He looks so cool. And then he gives this deadly serious gaze while saying that people are waiting for him. Oh, that was so cool, man. With the music too, it was so
Oh no.
triumphant. It was
That
so so
yes.
manly. It was awesome. I
That's
loved it.
that's the best adjective. It was triumphant. That is actually very true. It's like holy shit, goosebumps. The music for the next
Yeah,
episode, even crazier. But yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But you know
Vinland
how
kills it with the music.
like this man just like exacerbated the situation for him because Droid is already upset that shit you're still standing and you're teasing him to this extent in front of his men. There's other words you could have used.
Yeah,
Like Thorfinn could have made the rest of this easier for him. Like, hey man, there's still some more to go. I can barely stand, but maybe I'll try, or something. Also, that's another thing too. He doesn't have ruse in him. He's grown. He never had like mischief, but like he's as a character wouldn't allow him to just be seen as like weak and hurting. Because he's always been like that. I remember when Askeladd made him walk when he just fought Thorkel and swam miles. He
Yeah.
walked. Like he didn't ask like give me a horse. Like he has this I'm not gonna let you see me weak mindset that is unbreakable. It's insane,
He has that
man.
warrior mentality.
Right. like, like bro, dude, you're half
What a
dead.
man.
Right? It's like some
What a
Captain America
man.
shit, man. Like I can do this all day. Some like Frank Castle thing. Like, oh, Madani. He's like Madani. Oh shit. Insane. Billy. All right.
Pretty good impression.
I try my hardest, Christian. This man, nobody can replace this man. Bring him back. Bring Punisher back, please. But yeah, okay. That's my 2 cents. No, but the kid is great. The kid is great, man.
The man is great. He's a man.
Hey.
He's a
He is
man.
a man, Christian. He's the man. He's the man.
So
Oh,
yeah, so after he gives his speech, the the confidence that was in the crowd before when everyone thought that they were dealing with a fool, that starts to die down. And now they realize that this quote unquote shorty is a
right.
giant whose presence is towering over them right now, and they can feel it. They feel that they're in the presence of somebody who is incredible. Like, because in spite of the mockery and the pain, he's standing 10 toes down with conviction and strength that just exudes from his body language and his voice and his actions. And as the greatest warriors in the land, great is recognizing great right now. They understand that Thorfinn is an incredible person. This is a remarkable individual that we are bearing witness to.
Yeah.
So, this is the second shift in the atmosphere. And then the last shift that completely changes the atmosphere from mockery to complete and utter respect from everybody in the crowd is when Thorfinn withstands 100 blows. And then Drott is the one who falls first, and he falls from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Thorfinn is
Right.
just still standing tall. So the crowd stood by for the last 68 hits and just silently were watching with respect. And then Drott, he gives Thorfinn's full government name with respect and says, Thorfinn, son of Thor's, I'm sorry I doubted you. You're a true warrior. And then he believes what he said about how he used to serve Canute, and then he vouches for him to Wolf. And then Wolf, he asks Thorfinn why he didn't beat Drott since he had the skills to. And Thorfinn said that pretty much that's a silly question. I can't hit somebody when I'm trying to negotiate for peace.
Mm.
And then he says, "You're not my enemies. I have no enemies."
I have no
And then they
enemies.
show you a flashback of Thor's.
Oh.
Such a that is pristine, high quality writing. Like
Mm.
I feel like I'm a broken record with the number of times that I've praised the writing in this show.
Oh. It's
And
beautiful.
I like I said in the beginning, what was it? Ineffable. I can't.
Yes.
I don't know how else to describe this. This is just it's. I don't know any other words to use but
Mm.
beautiful and incredible because it is. It's the pinnacle of
It
writing.
is. It is, man. And like not only that, the artistic unity, like taking it full circle. Because this is like a loop of the
Yeah,
father and son. Like Thorfinn's growth over the year to end up his character, his personality, him as a person, to be just like his dad. Bro, this is like Thor's 2.0, man. But
yeah,
also the ways these values were instilled in him, the painful ways, because he didn't learn these from his dad growing up with him. My daddy always did this. No, this man had to go through war. This man had to harbor revenge and pain and suffering and just beatings, dude. Just, to just end up in this good point. Like that's insane, man. Like, all right. It's like, bro,
It's nuts.
nah,
It's nutty.
nah.
It's
I'm telling you,
nutty.
the best person I can equate to Thorfinn is Daredevil. Like Matthew Murdock's past is insane, bro. Like you got blinded, you never had a mom. Your dad ended up dying. You end up growing up at a Catholic. Some other blind guy teach you kung fu, karate. What martial art form did Stick teach him? But Stick was a cold guy. He was longing for a dad. He never got that dad. Like Matthew Murdock had everything to end up being bad, but his actions never freaking define him. He doesn't kill. He doesn't curse, bro. Just like it's and not his past never defined him. As that's Thorfinn, bro. It's insane. It's insane, man. But some
Well,
crazy shit.
well, so Thorfinn and Einar, they are now granted an audience with the king, King Canute,
Mm, mm.
and the line that he told Einar, that Thorfinn told Einar, just as they were granted permission, was both wise and very straight to the point. He said, "Come, Einar, we're going to see the man who starts wars. I'm sure you have a lot to say to him." That's a very particular way of wording that really captures just how important of an individual you're about to speak with. And I loved the intentionality behind phrasing it that way because it's
Mm-hmm.
a different way to view the word king. King, it's like king, the word king gets thrown out
Too
so
nice.
much that it's
Yeah.
easy to be desensitized to what it actually means to be a king.
Yeah. Yes,
So when you
Christian.
say that this is the man who starts wars, it's like, oh, that's a
Yes.
fresh understanding of what
Yes.
that means to be a king.
That's
It's
true. That's
brilliant.
true. Yeah, because king is like royalty, benevolence, your
Yeah.
highness, your no, bro. Let's freaking let's break that down. Let's unveil that for what it truly is. Let's take all this embellishment out of it. Yes, the men who start
Yeah.
war, freaking
Hmm.
power hungry bastard. Yes, yes, it was
Hmm.
beautifully worded. It was like it was the
Yeah.
raw definition of what that title is.
And it
Nah,
perfectly frames the conversation that's about to take place because
of course.
this is also a very brilliant conversation between Thorfinn and Canute.
Yep.
Like for so many reasons, I'm gonna try to condense it into four key points that I want to touch on. Um, Maybe five.
Okay.
So the first point is that out of respect for the men, Canute agrees to speak with Thorfinn, even though he ignored Thorfinn's efforts to speak when he was aware that Thorfinn was there trying to speak with him. So he's doing this out of respect for the men. And Canute, he brings up Askeladd and how Thorfinn likely hated him for what happened to Askeladd, and also like him becoming a slave. And Canute assumed that Thorfinn held this animosity towards him, but Thorfinn made his stance clear, and he speaks from a place of appreciation and respect for his situation. Like he's grateful that he went through the things he's went through after Askeladd because it's landed him in a position that is a lot more healthier for him, and it's a lot more fruitful in terms of what his actions can cause in the future. So, and then also Wolf finds out that Thorfinn gave Canute the scar, and he recognized that Thorfinn is a legend in his own right because he was a match, or he was said to be a match for Thorkel. So that's pretty crazy because Thorkel is considered by many to be the strongest person in the world. So
Yeah.
that's a really big deal.
That is true. Christian, do you right? I something stuck out to me. He said Canute like made him a slave. I think Canute said that. As in
Right.
throughout the whole this is season two. Yeah, throughout the season two, I was wondering how did Thorfinn end up being a slave? So is it like by striking Canute that day, his punishment for striking a king was either death or slavery? I guess that's probably how he ended up where he ended up because he had,
Yeah,
Canute
it
said
could
that.
be. Yeah, they it was I assume it was intentionally vague. Like it wasn't a
Yeah.
clear answer on what happened, but yeah, that might be what happened. Um, or it could also, another possible route is that Thorfinn was just so lost that he ended up becoming a slave because he just, I don't know, maybe he was captured or something. But
Mm.
yeah, I feel like the punishment of striking a prince, making them a slave, it makes sense. So yeah.
Rich gang.
So Thorfinn, he requests Canute to leave the farm, to which Canute just flat out refuses. And then Einar also chimes in and he says, if you want to farm that badly, start one yourself, till the land, watch over it, and raise your own crops. Then you'll understand what a terrible thing it is to take that from somebody else. And by the way, it's amazing how much perspective is injected in that line. That's a that was a very palatable way of digesting years of effort into like a couple sentences. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like that's a hard thing to convey, struggle to convey the
Mm.
accumulation of the day-to-day labor that you experience working on a farm.
And
That
the
was very
cost.
and the
The
cost.
loss.
Yeah, it was a very succinct way of conveying that idea. It was very well worded. Love that.
Yeah. And this
And
is, oh, so sorry. Yes, I'm going to echo your sentiments. Very well worded. This is also the wording, like you mentioned, Thorfinn saying, let's go see the man who start wars, him emphasizing on the day to day of what it takes to farm. It's to uh, emphasize on the oppressed side. Like, you're the oppressor, you're the king. This is land that you need to requisition. But I'm showing you right now, I'm telling you what the people you're taking that from, what it is to them, because you're not seeing their side.
right.
You're seeing, I need to conquer. I need to expand my power as far as I can to just continuously just gain land, gain kingdoms, and gain more people. Like basically to expand my grip on my corner of the world. But you're not seeing what it takes to the people you're removing from their habitat. You're removing from their world. Like you're taking all they've known and worked their hard life for. Just know their words were chosen so beautifully in this episode. And it sucks that Canute
Mhm.
didn't grasp it because Canute is he reads. He's a very
I
smart
I
man.
think he did grasp it.
Yeah,
I think because
and until this point, no, but he will. He did. He did at the end of the episode. He did. But I'm glad they punched that in. They just keep feeding him. It's like you don't know what you're doing. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. It's like, but no, they did a good job. Did a good job because words can go a long way if they're not falling on deaf ears. And Canute is someone that is wide awake and receptive, which is good. I like that about him. He's
hmm
very strategic and he listens. But
hmm
yeah, dude, their words now. They chose that freaking carefully. I loved it.
yeah, and also Canute is he's a very kind-hearted person. Like
That
he
is true.
well, because like he can't just. I feel like when he was a kid, that nature of his to be loving and caring and nurturing. Like yes, he had to evolve into this Canute that we see now, but he hasn't completely gotten rid of that soft side to him, the
That's
caring side
true.
to him. And it's cool that it kind of peeks its head up, this side of him occasionally throughout, more specifically next episode, but a little bit in this episode too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, I love that his character development is fantastic.
Seriously, he's not a bad guy. Like they tried. See, the freaking that's the thing that Billions did with Mike Prince in season 7 that they should have done what this author's doing with Canute. Like Canute's not a bad guy. Just like seriously,
Yeah, nah,
like
he's
uh,
not. He's not.
crazy stuff, man.
So Thorfinn, though, so to continue on this idea that Canute is not a bad guy, Thorfinn asks if Canute still wants to create a utopia for those who are suffering. And Canute, he responds by saying, yes, I am the chief of Viking chiefs. The king and the most powerful Viking on the North Sea. I'm the commander who leads thousands of ships and 10,000 men. My power exceeds human understanding and makes the impossible possible. And then to make his point, Canute does a very grand and profound gesture, which was
Ooh.
so. It was so. There was so much new. There was so much depth in what he just did.
Mm.
And so, with the authority of a human king, he commands the waves to stop. And of course, they don't stop. And then he explained how his power defies human ability, just like he said. And he is the pinnacle of what it means for a human being, a single human, to have the ultimate power. And yet, he's powerless to command the waves. And then he says, "Did you bear witness to my strength?" Which is another way of him saying, "Did you bear witness to my weakness?"
Yes,
Because
I'm human.
he's
Yeah.
not, yes, he's human. He's not omnipotent. And he recognizes this. And at the same time, he recognizes that he's against an enemy who is omnipotent. And of
Exactly.
course, that's God. And so to defy the omnipotent and to create a paradise which would need to be free from God's domain, it demands the unconventional. It demands a defiance that exceeds the logic of God's world. And his actions are an act of rebellion against the God. So he's operating under the belief that humankind cannot find happiness under God's rule. They can't find true happiness. And that Vikings are the ones who will help pave the way to a true paradise. And he is the one, uh, he is the only one who can unify them and the only one who can gather the strength of all humankind to fight God. But in order to do so, they must embrace, endure, and work around the human nature decreed by God, which is to commit sins as we wander lost. That's a very that is a fascinating perspective
I know,
for a
right?
king to have. And then I don't okay. In the next episode, they touch on this more in an even more fascinating way. But yeah, for this episode, this is what we get for now. And after Canute says this, Thorfinn he confirms Canute's intentions one more time, and then Canute doubles down, and then he says to Thorfinn that the only way to stop him from taking the farm is to kill him. And the two have a stare down, and then the episode ends.
Mm,
Any
mm,
final
mm.
thoughts before we move on to the next one?
Einar drops the murderers of his. Einar basically gave us as the the leader, the people that were in power during the genocides that occurred in his village. Like he mentioned, King Ethelred burned down my village. That was the guy uh, that Canute poisoned, and then his son came in, and Canute also poisoned. And then he said King Sweeney killed my family the second go around. That's Canute's dad. As in, we knew these things. Those it must have been Vikings or something, but we never knew exactly who was at the. Who was at? What am I saying? Who was at the? We never knew who was the hand who commanded or ordered these hits. But it's Einar fell victim to King Sween and King Ethelred. So it was nice that they finally specified like when that took place, because
Right. Yeah.
that can give you a sense of semi accuracy or precision of around what time these things did happen, because you didn't have that from the beginning. I love when they do that. Like Attack on Titan, when they tell you the Titans' ages by how many years they got left. Like Gabby's like, oh, I'm only gonna have Falco's like I'm only gonna have like 10 years or something. You're like, oh wait, 10 minus 13. It's like that's pretty cool. I love when they do stuff like that. So it's like I live for these things. That's great. Oh. But yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
Mm.
That's it, man. That's it.
All right. So we'll see you all in the next episode.
Rich Gang.
See ya.
Bye.